So to extend our reach for climate empowerment, today we invited key stakeholders from the Hungarian government and from the National Youth Council of Hungary. And it's my honor to present you our first guest speaker, Dr. Veronika Bagi, who serves as Climate Policy Desk Officer at the Ministry for Innovation and Technology. And as part of her role, Veronika is the national focal point for the UN Climate Change Convention on Action for Climate Empowerment, or also called as ACE. Veronika, would you like to also introduce yourself? Tell us about the institution you represent.
Yes, hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to this session as a speaker. Yes, so my name is Veronika Bagi. You already introduced me on my function and title at the ministry, but I would just tell a couple of words on what we are basically doing in this department, in the climate policy department of the ministry. So basically we are involved in all issues on climate change concerning Hungary. So we have a wide range of tasks here, including policy making at the domestic level and contributing to the EU policy making, and formulating and representing the Hungarian position at the European level and at the international climate change negotiations. We are providing expert opinion with regard to climate change, and we are also involved in several climate change related projects too. So project management, we are also doing that. In a nutshell, that was it, what we are doing. So we are involved in all aspects of climate change.
Thanks. And as a key point of contact between the government's climate change division and the civil society, can you please tell us how can non-formal educators work together with the ministry to empower younger generations for climate action?
Well, this is a good question because, first of all, as a public institution, we are more involved in the formal educational matters. So that's what we are doing. We are working on formal education, sometimes on climate change also, or climate change related matters. And the ministry is having a background institute, the National Mining and Geological Survey of Hungary, which is also working on educational matters. So that's what we are working together sometimes. Of non-formal education, we are not really sure yet how to be engaged because we do not have questions on it. How do they want us to be engaged in that, and what is the scope where we can go in and be involved? So what we are doing is, with regard to this, is providing expert opinion on the outputs of the projects. So because that's what we are having the capacity of. With regard to other questions to get more involved in this, I would suggest to send us precise inquiries to the ministry, what we can check, and then think on the further collaboration with the project, because actually we really do not know yet how to get engaged, or what you as project management, what do you want us to, how to get involved in that? So we do not really see our position in that yet, but expert opinion, we are happy to provide on that and collaborate in that.
Thanks for sharing that. This is also valuable information for us, and I believe many others who work in non-formal education around sustainability and climate change. And when it comes to the content that's available and that you and the ministry see missing, what gaps do you see in education on climate change which require action? And feel free to elaborate on the formal way of education as well.
Okay, what gaps I see, it's more about the topics and not just the formal or non-formal education, but in general knowledge on climate change is that people are getting more and more aware of climate change, and there is a huge amount of data and information on climate change on the internet you can find, but the information is not really well structured. You don't know what to look at or what to search for, and the amount of data can be overwhelming. There are also false data on it, and all of this can cause climate anxiety, which is, I think, it's getting to be a bigger and bigger problem, especially among youth who are starting to be more aware of climate change, but uh, do not know what this is, and they do not really know how to address it in their personal lives. They can be overwhelmed of the feeling that I would like to do something, but I don't know what to do, or I do not know if my contribution, if my personal actions are contributing to this, basically, because one individual is so small comparing to the whole economy of the world. So I think what is crucial is to provide a well-structured and science-based information on climate change, and not just to provide the facts, but provide useful tools and advices on what to do in your personal lives, and um, educate on how individual choices are contributing to climate change and also to the fight against climate change. So what can you do basically in your personal life? How can you change your personal lifestyle? And it is also important to bring awareness on that. Yes, individual contribution matters, like all of us can contribute to this. For example, I would like to highlight one point is that in late 2019, Hungary had a survey on climate change, which was very successful. Many people have submitted that. And more than 90% of the answers showed that people are ready to change their lifestyles in order to protect the climate. So what I see is there is a willingness in people to change their lifestyle. They are starting to be aware of this matter, and it's important to provide useful advices on that and well-structured information.
Thanks for elaborating on this, and I see all this data as useful for developing, or crucial actually, for developing such a model, and also when it comes to creating that demand for action, right? We aim in this, one of the modules of this competence model will be to bring the subject closer to Hungarians, and try to bring in people like the veterinarian, doctors and farmers to speak about how are they experiencing climate impacts here in Hungary or in the region, and to try to, as you also said, bring it closer to the people, to create that demand, that create that behavior change. Okay, now that we are put into perspective with some of the cooperation on climate outreach from the top down, I'm eagerly turning to our second speaker, Domokos, from the Umbrella Association, representing the majority of the youth organizations in Hungary. Domokos, please introduce yourself and tell a few words maybe about your entity and your past experiences working with young people.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you to discuss with you, Viktor and Victoria, because I think Veronika, sorry, this is topic which is very near to my heart and also to our organization. you already mentioned that we are an umbrella organization. I think also our international community here knows those systems, because this is not a special Hungarian art of youth representation. We have those organizations in several European countries, and we are the Hungarian one. We have more than 100 member organizations from every part of Hungary. And that's why we can represent the Hungarian youth in Hungary, or also at international level in the European Union, or to other international platforms. And we have some working groups, and I am part of the international working group. And my task is to be at international platforms and hear the good practices and bring them back home. And I am now happy to share my experience in that field.
Thank you. And I know from our previous conversations that you have some diverse experience from leading community projects on different levels of the education system. I'm curious to hear your take on what role does the National Youth Council play in Hungary when it comes to education on environmental sustainability?
So the first important point, I think, to see this very big age gap of young people, because we are also connected to high schools and students with 16, and then also to more older young people. So we have a very big possibilities to discuss this topic. On high school level, we are in strong communication with student councils in cities or in villages, so locals one. And when it comes to more older people, we are through our members in the United Nations Youth Delegate Program. They are organizing workshops and other events related to this topic. For example, we started also a new project. I would like to say the Hungarian name and then translate it in English. This is the Moderator project, which is a project just focusing on sustainable development. And actually, the name of your project, Sustainaware, could be a good English translation. So we organized a conference with workshops, with experts, where we also tried to reach this goal, which Veronika also said, to share more information from experts. And we are also represented and at festivals. Last year it was not able, but there we also try to share this topic at our info desk in several festivals. And some other events have always some sessions or discussions about this topic, because we know that we need to focus always on that issue, and that's why we can always discuss about that.
Thanks. And seeing this non-formal education community from the inside through these projects, how do you think we can empower the members of the National Youth Council in their efforts to bring sustainability and climate education to the audiences?
When I was in several schools, this last year with another project, I saw that we have very big differences between cities and small villages, and that's why I think your mission with this toolkit can be a way that we can give money, we can give experts, and we can give ideas, but in the end, we don't know what are the local preferences or the local possibilities. So that's why we see our mission on our task in this topic as Youth Council, that we are there for our member organization. If they want to do something, we can contact them with the ministry or other experts. But at the end, we need to have an engaged teacher or an engaged city leader who can be there and implement. Although we are traveling through the country and we are there as members of our board or working groups, we can't do the job in the real life. So this is an important way, and I think the civil society and NGOs must do open to the private sector, because this topic is also in the companies and at our work life. So this is a way, my personal experience, how we can bring more stakeholders there and show a practical way. So yeah, connect more stakeholders from the private sector.
I'm really glad that you brought this in, bringing in stakeholders from the private sector, because we see that in the climate change discussion, they are becoming more and more vocal, and this might have a good effect on people and consumers, right? I just started, by the way, I just started reading the new book of Bill Gates. I don't know if you or anyone has heard about it. Bill Gates, 2 weeks ago, he published a book on climate change. By the way, it's here. How to avoid it looks weird. How to avoid a climate disaster, and he's for example using this narrative of technology and business opportunities and investments to tackle the climate crisis. All right, I think we have heard a couple of outstanding insights to arrive at our crossfire discussion. I'm sure I don't need to remind you that our game mode is set on friendly fire, so we do not do no roasting here in the crossfire discussion. It's a discussion where any speaker can fire and speak at any point. And there are 3 open questions. And by the way, in this webinar series, we always ask these 3 questions from all our speakers, and we intend to combine this into one set of suggestions or opinions. All right, here we go. The first question: what do you think will trigger large-scale behavior change in our societies? Who wants to go ahead?
Can I speak, Veronika, or would you like to?
No, you can go on. Sure.
Thank you very much. I'm speaking now from Passau, which is a border city between Austria and Germany in Bavaria. And 2 days ago was a very big topic in the news that we had the anniversary of the Fukushima disaster And this motivated at that time the German government to make an exit from the atom energy. And I don't want to say it was a good step or a bad step. For example, for Hungary, we can't imagine to leave our atom energy because our geopolitical area. So we can't do that like Germany. We need atom power. But this was something here in Germany which said to the people, okay, just do solar energy and other stuff. So, but we are in a pandemic, and I think to some other questions can be COVID an answer, because this is something which change our daily life when it's about traveling or other questions of our society. So my answer is now also COVID, because in my personal life I recognized I am traveling less, I am buying less, and this is something which contribute to the sustainable goals. For example, today another news in Germany that they reached the goal because of COVID. But at the end, we need to keep in mind that against climate change, we don't have the vaccine. So there we need to act, and we don't have this solution at the end, that is the vaccine. Yeah, this is my hope that this pandemic will change in a good way some things.
Thanks for sharing that.
May I come in now?
Please. Yes.
Yes, so it is very important, Domokos, what you said of the current pandemic, because I think that has opened our eyes how vulnerable we are, basically, and what is when we cannot step in and we cannot do anything. I mean, we can do, but really slowly against it. So this can be seen as a good opportunity to a reset and to a shift towards a greener, sustainable, and a more inclusive economy. So I think we shall use this as a huge opportunity, and which is a bit scary is to see that the GHG emission of 2020 was at the level of according to the Paris Agreement, but only because there was COVID. So what if there is no COVID, the GHG emission is emerging? Instead, it shall be lower and lower all the time. So I think the pandemic was also good to that, to open our eyes and to make policymakers and political decision makers to think of that. And I already see a shift in the behavior of the society, as I mentioned already, this survey we had, which was clearly showing, and it was a clear sign to the political decision makers also, that people want this, people are aware of this, and people want to be engaged in that. So I think in all level, the shift has started already. We just need to accelerate it a bit more.
All right, thanks. If I may sum up some of your points, crisis situations, just like the one we're experimenting now. I think there was some agreement between you, both of you, that such disruptions in society can trigger the same type of thinking that we need for climate action. Okay, I like where this is going. The next question, do you expect a visible change in the coming decade?
Can I respond to this at first? from the side of the policymakers or the public institutions, because well, my answer is that yes, definitely, and especially on the side of the policymaking. As a leading example, the European Union has set the 2050 climate neutrality target, and in 2020 December, the EU leaders agreed on on a new target under the European Green Deal of at least reducing 55% the GHG emission by 2030 compared to 1990. So this already shows how serious the EU takes this issue. And then to achieve this target, huge and ambitious steps need to be taken. Following the EU, several countries has announced their 2050 climate neutrality targets, such as Japan, South Korea, the US, and even China has announced its climate neutrality target to 2060. So this, I think, at the political level already shows a clear sign that steps need to be taken, and to achieve these ambitious goals, now is the time, and this decade will be the time to take huge steps. I think that in the transition towards the greener economy, the decarbonization of the energy sector is also very important. It's one of the most crucial points, actually. And the clean energy and the demand for clean energy is increasing, and the clean energy sources are developing also. And for example, Hungary, to accelerate the transition in line with the Hungarian National Energy and Climate Plan, our last remaining coal-fired power plant, the Matra power plant, will be phased out lignite-fired blocks until 2030. So, which is a huge step already, because it means that the electricity production in Hungary will be 90% carbon neutral by 2030. So this is actually a huge step toward it. And on the other side, I also see that climate finance is accelerating also, and a part of the 100 billion climate finance goal, what we do not know yet if we achieved or not. We do not have data on it yet. But this has also showed that, yes, steps are taken towards it, and this decade will be crucial to reach all these ambitious targets.
All right. Domokos, would you like to add?
I would, at the point Veronika said, that we have other countries or other areas, and that's why I would like to add to the question, where do we have this change? Because I have sometimes the feeling that in Europe we are very focused, and some countries in the European Union try to reach this goal, but at the end we have still some countries where the goals are not so clear, the transparency of data is not so good as here in the European Union, and then we can make the change in the next decade. But the other part of the world focus more on a better economic, but not the sustainable goals. So that's what I wanted to add, that we here in the European Union are on a good way to reach this change, but maybe we should bring the other countries on the board and make better deals or treaties to have them also in this common fight, or I don't know how to explain that. And can I add something to the survey which was mentioned about because this is always a big question. Are we states? Are we political decision makers or individuals who can contribute to this fight. And as I mentioned, we are also at EU level in youth platforms, and not just the United Nations has those SDGs. Also, the European Youth has 11, and the 10th of that is about sustainable development. And they made also a survey, and I was very happy to see the results, because it's so personal. There was the question, what would you do for that? And recycling and traveling was at the very high, and then just about would you throw away meal from your daily food plan, and then it was very under. So at the point when we recognize I need to do something as individual, and it can be bad for my happiness or for my daily life, then we stand back, and this is very I don't know a word for that, but we are speaking about that. We know it's important, but at the end, when it's about our own individual contribution, we stand back, and that's can be not so positive if we want to arrive something.
I think this.
To that, sorry.
Oh yes, please.
To this last point, that when we need to do something and we actually need to engage in that and change our personal lifestyles. So what I wanted to say about is that's why I think education and awareness raising is crucial, and also that showing that to people that yes, it does matter, because one might think that just one individual action won't change anything, so why shall I do anything? And it does matter, and people need to know that it matters. So, for example, demand can shape the markets. It's shaping the financial markets also towards greener financial products of the banks, which is important to finance climate transition. So actually this matter is very complex, and that's why the people need to be aware of the complexity of this issue. Or sometimes people even don't know, okay, I shall eat less meat or shall not eat meat at all, but why? How does that contribute to climate change if I eat meat? That's why here comes, I think, education and awareness raising, which is key in this. I even see it in my personal life, and yes, it needs to be pushed that we need to change our lifestyle, and we need to change it now, because we are still able to do something on that, and we need to take actions, and we need to be mindful about that.
Yes, I think several points were mentioned here. But if we would need to narrow it down, if you could highlight one thing that the world, governments, or the people need to do to accelerate climate action until 2030, what would that one thing be?
My hope or my dream is that we in the European Union we use more our economic area, also for a step to a real working circular economic, also which is on the low level of the citizens working. So at the end, I want to give back my plastic. This, I don't know if you know this from Germany. It's cost 0.25 cents here, and yet just make sure that I can give back also in Hungary, and it's a working system. Because the EU was at the beginning an economic area, but I think it could be more useful for the economic. No, so we could use the economic more for a sustainable development, and yeah, this is my my message to the decision makers.
Right, thanks.
Well, I have, so in my opinion, most importantly, we have to take this serious in all levels, because if we take this issue seriously, then we will take steps towards it. If we know the consequences of our inactions, then we might take steps. At the individual level, I would highlight the change of personal lifestyles and the willingness to change of lifestyle. At governmental level, this shall be at the top of the agenda. This shall be the top priority. And at the level of the world, we need to realize that this matter won't stop at the borders. So this requires joint action by all countries, all developed and developing countries. And developed countries shall provide help and financial resources to developing countries, who needs to have the willingness also to take actions and to be engaged in this whole, because we can only tackle this together if everyone is engaged.
Okay, if I may sum up some of the things you expressed, understand that you're looking for creating a market demand, creating that circular economy that we always talk about. And you Domokos, you brought up an example with the circularity of waste, right? And use that kind of model for the bigger approach of circularity. And then Veronika was suggesting the individual behavior change that is needed for the governments to regulate this. And I personally believe it's really a vice versa thing. People need to signal the demand, and the governments will react, and vice versa. All right. I'm curious what everyone else thinks from the audience. So this is the moment where we would gladly hear your inputs, questions, remarks from the audience. Feel free to turn on your microphone, your camera, or use the chat box.
Can I jump in?
Bas, hey, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bas Tunter from the Netherlands and involved with the ACE working group from Yongo. And I was wondering, I heard the discussion, and I was wondering, such an personal aspect as feeling empowered, it's to do a lot with the knowledge you have, and then being able to have the capacity to act upon that change and then broadcasting that out. But what in the Netherlands here, it's election day today, and I was wondering, how do you reach people that are staunch in their no, we don't need to radically change. Yeah, I find it difficult. I don't see the reason for it. I think that is a difficult group to reach, but the essential one if you want to have the entire, in this case, country, but the entire world putting their efforts behind this. Do you have a vision on how to reach difficult to reach groups in this instance?
How to reach?
Yeah. I had this question in the practical life when I was in the schools, and my solution was money, because in some solutions you can save a lot of money, and while doing something for the nature. So my recycling projects focused on that goal: save money and recycling. So if you can find this point in other projects, then you can motivate also students which are not so for the nature and so on. This is my practical experience.
Figure out the things they find important, and then tailor your message why climate change, why taking action matters to them as well, and how it could benefit them, and thereby adding pushing them towards action.
Yeah, because they saved money and they were able to organize events from that money, because the school saved money by the waste transport cost. But if I just shared with them, please throw your plastic waste in the other in the green or yellow tone, because it's good for the oceans, they will say, we don't have oceans in Hungary. Why do you think it's important? But if they save money, then they are there. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea. We in the municipality I live in, the waste, you have a trash bag that costs money for all the stuff that gets incinerated, and for plastic that's free, so you can save money if you recycle.
Yeah, just a short answer. It's the tactic of pay as you throw. The companies from the United States started that. Oregon is a very good place for that tactic. That you need to pay so much money for the waste transport, which you throw away, and if you are using the selective way, so recycling, then you don't need to pay. This is also a good method to motivate with money.
Referring to this question also, and what Domokos said about when with the plastic, for example, that we don't have oceans, so what to do with that? I think it's very important to bring awareness of the country effects of climate change. So, for example, here in Hungary, what will happen or what could happen, or what is happening already. So, because also people might not know, and what Viktor said already before, that you will have a session in the context of your educational project on bringing different groups and bringing people from the agriculture. For example, this is also important to show how it will affect us in country level. It's not just about that it's going to be warmer and there's no snow during winter. It's much more complex than that. And what I also wanted to ask is how to address that issue of non-formal education, because in formal education, students have to be there. It's an obligation for them, but non-formal education is voluntary. So basically, students who are already aware, for whom is already important, will engage to these processes. So yes, it's in this project, I think it's crucial to target somehow that group who is not engaged yet and who does not have the willingness yet to be engaged. And to this point to add, I think it's important to start climate awareness and climate education as early as possible, because yes, when students are becoming older, maybe money brings a solution, maybe a reward brings a solution. But I think at a more early stage, when the kids are younger, the students are younger, this might be not that important to have rewards, or, for example, to have a money reward. They might be more easily engaged in these actions if from an early age they are learning why is this important.
Victor, if I can react on that, I'm both starting my own company and educating science and technology. And when you start reaching out to primary school children in the age of 6 to 12, that is where they look outside the world, figuring out, they're still immensely curious. How does this work? Why do we do this? They don't have the assumptions, all right, we throw this away. The idea is, we have to be careful with the things that are given us. There, that you can really internalize those values if you want to reach out and have that movement, that action going on. So that's, yeah, I really feel that point, reaching out to young children, youth, there as early as possible.
And I think I see several forums where these kind of questions are being asked and are being discussed. And there's a working group within Youngo, which you also mentioned, Bas, the ACE working group of Youngo, which is an international group, and I see these inputs coming in from so many different countries and so many different approaches. We heard from Domokos a few through waste recycling projects, through informal education or non-formal education. I think the opportunities here are endless and overwhelming. Okay, I see. What do you think, at Veronika, what do you think the role of the international community is with regards to ACE? COP26, there will be a new work program. How does Hungary look at the content of this new work program? Any ideas on this?
Well, yes. So the review of the Doha work program is currently ongoing. There will be no substar in a personal level in June, which is usually before the COP, which we do not know yet if there will be a COP this year. Hopefully there will be, and hopefully the Doha work program review will happen at the COP. What I experienced, and during the ACE discussion, I experienced that there is a lack of capacity for ACE at country levels, and there is a lack of money. There's a lack of engagement, which is a problem, and this is also like circulating. There's no capacity, there's no money. Increasing the capacity costs money. So what I think, it sometimes depends on the persons who are ACE national focal points, and this will be important to enhance the work of the national focal points also. The discussions shall be on how to enhance the work, on how to engage the ACE national focal points also. To be honest, I did not have time to look at the work program. I don't know if there is already a work program, since we are reviewing this one, what we had now, and there will be a huge negotiation probably at COP26 on what to do further, if we shall continue this or how to continue this. What I think is that in Hungary, for example, the government has already started to think on how to create an ACE network in Hungary, but this is only at the initial phase. So what I see is that ACE is important. And this whole discussion, it just made to the point that yes, ACE has a point to this and it can contribute to this. Yes, we will need to definitely do further work on this.
We as the ACE working group, we with youth from all around the world have already thought about a review of the Doha work program and some ideas. How do we make sure that ACE National Vocal Voice get enough capacity? We have a marketplace solution for funding. So if you would be interested, then I would be very happy to follow up and send you some ideas if that would help you in your work.
Yes, thank you very much. I would appreciate that.
Awesome. Then I will definitely do so.
Great. I'm happy that we managed to also touch upon the international perspective and touch upon the next COP26 and the relating educational aspect of it. Okay, I think we got to the end of our discussion today. And